From Ontario Motor Speedway, Ontario, California, ITN, the Independent Television Network, presents the 1975 NHRA World Final. Brought to you by English Leather, the and English Leather champion. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and this is the Big O, Ontario Motor Speedway, the quickest and fastest drag racing track in the world. On the starting line in first round action of Top Fuel Eliminator, Big Daddy Don Garlits in the far lane. He's from Tampa, Florida. In the tower side from Minot, North Dakota, Bob Struckness. Don Garlits, in search of his first ever NHRA World Championship, has an easy go of it in the first round. 5.79 seconds, 242 miles an hour. Here is the defending world champion, Gary Beck. He's from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Gary Beck, Don Garlits, locked in a neck-and-neck struggle for that world championship title and the $20,000 in bonus money going to the 1975 world champion. Beck matched up in the first round against Hank Johnson from Marysville, Washington. Both Top Fuel dragsters powered by supercharged fuel-burning engines capable of horsepower nearing 2,000 horsepower. The speeds over 250 miles an hour. Don Garlits has already exceeded that magic barrier. Here is Gary Beck and Hank Johnson back in the far lane. And another good leave, a good start by Gary Beck, and he easily outdistances Hank Johnson, 5.82 seconds, 240 miles an hour. Here we move to some highlights of the first round of Funny Car Eliminator. On the near side, the Chicago Patrol car, driven by Pat Foster, sponsored by a police organization in the city of Chicago. In the far lane, from California, Gary Cochran driving Jim Terry's Mustang. And on this run, you see a good example of the safety requirements of the National Hot Rod Association and the trackside crew of Axel Weber's safety caravan as Jim Terry and Gary Cochran up in flames. They cross the finish line. The body's starting to catch on fire as you see the dark black smoke starting to pour off the car. The body comes off the car as he gets into the dirt. Pat Foster right in behind him. The safety caravan crew rolling to the scene. You see Gary Cochran getting out of the car under his own power. It's still smoking. The fire very intense as he went across the finish line. But that fire suit, the onboard fire extinguishing system, knocking down the fire to allow Gary Cochran out of the car. First round action again of Funny Car Eliminator. Tom Hoover, near lane with the Showtime car. In the far lane, Raymond Beadle, the guy that won the Nationals this year. He is from Dallas, Texas. The car of Tom Hoover out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Blue Max, one of the quickest funny cars in the world. Here at the Big O and the World Finals, and Raymond Beadle winning that first round race handily. 6:21 is elapsed time, 203 miles an hour. E.T., that's from the starting line to the finish line. That's how long it takes you to travel, 1,320 feet from a standing start. Here on the near side, Little John Lombardo. He's from Sherman Oaks, California. Dale Paldy driving the Pluger and Geiger Mustang. They won it all here a year ago with another driver. A very close race. They're side by side, and at the finish, Little John Lombardo. Welcome to Ontario Motor Speedway and the NHRA World Finals of Drag Racing. This is the fastest racetrack in the world, and the times thus far have proven it here. New low elapsed times, top speeds over 250 miles an hour as these drivers battle for those valuable World Championship Series points and that bonus prize money that goes. A total bonus fund of some $315,000 has been posted, along with cash and contingency awards for this World Championship. And here's the way it stands in Top Fuel Eliminator. Two drivers battling it down to the wire. Gary Beck leading by 148 points coming into the World Finals. Don Garlits running over 250 miles an hour, establishing a new top speed record. It's anybody's race as we go into the eliminations. In Funny Car, throughout the year, the 43-race series, Don Prudhomme having an outstanding year, annexing the World Championship title before we ever got to the World Finals. In Pro Stock, it's still up in the air. It's Wayne Gap and Bob Glidden neck and neck as they come into this race, just a few hundred points separating those two fine Pro Stock drivers here at the World Finals. That's the way they stand points-wise. Let's see how they do on the racetrack. We'll be back with quarterfinal racing from the World Finals in just a moment. You're watching the quickest and fastest drag race in the world, the 1975 NHRA World Finals from the Big O, Ontario Motor Speedway. Quarterfinal action, top fuel eliminator. Gary Beck, the defending champ, against James Warren. Herm Peterson against Gaines Markley. It'll be Marvin Graham matched up against Paul Longnecker, and Don Garlitz to meet Dale Funk. Both cars now approaching the starting line. That ever-important Christmas tree. Good start for both cars. It is Gary Beck out in front over James Warren, and Gary Beck wins at 5.74 seconds to a losing 5.80, just about a car length at the finish line. That's how close the racing is. The next pair, Herm Peterson from Paulsbo, Washington. He's on the far side. R. Gaines Markley out of Federal Way, Washington. Both those cities, suburbs of the city of Seattle. Peterson extending his lead over Markley, wins at 6.03 to a losing 6.19 for Markley. Marvin Graham defeated Paul Longnecker in other quarterfinal action, and here we see Big Daddy himself, Don Garlitz from Tampa, Florida. He is matched up against Dale Funk from Radcliffe, Kentucky. Funk peering out of his fire mask and crash helmet. Tightly encased in the roll cages of these cars, the drivers propelling themselves through the quarter mile in less than 6 seconds. That's from a standing start. Don Garlitz has already recorded the low elapsed time of 5.63 seconds. He must run quicker than a 5.69 sometime during this race to back that up for an official national record. He already holds the record at 2:50. Let's see how he does. And it's Don Garlitz, an outstanding 5.65 seconds. Speed 249.30 miles an hour. Dale Funk trailing at a fine 589. Strong burnouts by two funny cars. Jungle Jim Lieberman on the near side. He is matched up against the car that won the Nationals. This is Raymond Beadle. The funny cars utilizing the same 2,000 horsepower engines. In 1975, they're sleek and low to the ground, but back in the early 60s, when they first got started, they were anything but that. They are steel-bodied cars, just like what you drove on the street, with supercharged fuel-burning engines. You first saw the Dodge from Chrysler Corporation. Then comes the Mercury Comet of Jack Christman. Then you get to the funny cars, when they started altering the wheelbases, moving the wheelbase around, moving the front wheels forward, the rear wheels forward. This Gene Snow back in the 60s. Then you come to the fiberglass cars. This is the first ever fiberglass funny car, the Mercury Comet of Don Nicholson. Chrysler and Ford Motor Company in a tremendous battle back in the mid to late 60s. Color Me Gone, Roger Lindemoon, a perfect example of the fiberglass bodies with a tilt from the front. And here we have one of the true funny cars. This is a Jeep, and probably the name funny car came from those rather unique drag racing creations that led to this, the sleek, low bodies cutting through the wind, 2,000 horsepower, propelling these funny cars at speeds over 240 miles an hour from a standing start in just 1,320 feet. Here is the first race of this round, quarterfinal action. It's Jungle Jim Lieberman against Raymond Beadle. In other action this round, Denny Savage, driving the Tri-Town Hustler, defeated Norm Wilcox, but Wilcox unable to answer the call. Little John Lombardo beat Tom Brock, and we're ready between Beadle and Lieberman. Raymond Beadle's Mustang, 6.16 seconds, moving very strong as he defeats Jungle Jim Lieberman. Here's the car that has dominated it. In fact, Don Prudhomme has already annexed the World Championship title, as he has earned enough points without even winning this race to become the world champion for 1975. His competition, Pat Foster, the Chicago Patrol. Don Prudhomme has already gone 241 miles an hour with a funny car, the fastest man in history ever to drive a full-bodied car through the quarter mile. He is looking for that magic 5-second run with a funny car. No one has ever done it before. Can Don Prudhomme do it here at the NHRA World Final? In this pass, it'll be Don Prudhomme against Pat Foster. Foster out of Chicago, Illinois. The all-important start. Both drivers concentrating on the Christmas tree as they approach those staging beams, inching into the beams. Reaction time, all important here. John Prudhomme easily outdistances Pat Foster, a 6.17. Let's move to the Pro Stock quarterfinals. As you can see, it'll be a tremendous number of cars in this race. As the first pair we'll see, Bob Glidden on the far side. He is matched up against the Ford Pinto of Lee Hunter. Both Pintos off the starting line together. Bob Glidden, the defending world champ, got back in on a big break when his competition in round number 1 was found to be light after Glidden red-lighted away his chance for a win. Very close at the finish line, you can see just a little over a wheel width separating the two cars as they move across the finish line. It's Wayne Gap matched up against Stacy Shields in the second race of this round. In other action in this round, Larry Huff defeated Jack Shore. Bill Jenkins topping Richie Zool. Stacy Shields, one of the few black drivers in drag racing from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's driving the Superfly Mustang. Wayne Gap from Livonia, Michigan, at the wheel of the four-door Maverick. Here you see the Christmas tree. Both cars stayed. They leave smoke coming out of Wayne Gap's car, and Stacy Shields pulling ahead, and what an upset here as Wayne Gap, the favorite, coming into the race with a big lead, loses as obviously a motor going away. Wayne Gap coasting across the finish line. Stacy Shields with the upset win. We'll be back with more racing in just a moment. The 1975 NHRA World Finals of Drag Racing at Ontario Motor Speedway. When a drag racer makes a run through a quarter of a mile, 1,320 feet, he's concerned about a lot of things. Concentration on his start, his parts, his equipment, but primarily, after he crosses that finish line, he's concerned with stopping. One of the big advantages to stopping a drag racing car are those parachutes that blossom out from behind.
Jeb Allen, one of the youngest professional drag racers, former Summer Nationals champ, and certainly one of the really strong runners here at this World Championship race. Jeb, you know, in drag racing there's a lot of important things: horsepower, tires, clutch, but probably most important to the driver is a parachute. How do you feel about your parachute?
Well, my parachute has never failed to come out, and I hope in the future it'll come out every time. But I have my race car prepared to where I can usually stop it on any racetrack without the parachute, but it might destroy the motor doing it. But it's one of the biggest safety things you got, so you always keep your eye on it and always maintain it about the best, because of traveling at 240 miles an hour, if the parachute don't work, you are going to be in trouble.
Jim, why don't you show us your parachute?
The parachute is basically a simple device, a modification of the type of parachutes used to jump out of airplanes with. Most popular has become the cross form, or it actually makes a cross as the parachute opens. You can see the lines that are attached to the back of the car. The parachute itself folded very neatly, the lines straighten out, and then it is packed into a stack. Lines loop around the hand, stuffed inside the parachute pack, held in place with a cable that you pop and the chute comes open. Safety is also all important to the drivers, and there are many requirements, particularly in funny car. Here we see Norm Wilcox at the wheel of the Hawaiian, the car bursting into flames, one of the most severe fires you'll ever see, the dark black smoke indicating now that the fiberglass body is caught on fire. He negotiates the curve, goes to the hay bale. Norm Wilcox with the Hawaiian coming to a stop. This in first round action, the fire blazing away. But out of the smoke, you will see Norm Wilcox coming out the side of the car as his fire suit protected him. The fire extinguishing bottles knocking down the flames long enough to let him get out. In Pro Stock semifinal racing, Bill Jenkins matched up against Larry Huff. Bob Glidden up against Stacy Shields. This now the semifinals of Pro Stock Eliminator. The first pair on the line, Larry Huff against Bill Jenkins, concentrating on the Christmas tree in the start, and it's a red light for Larry Huff. You saw it happen as Larry Huff leaving just a little bit too early, giving Bill Jenkins the semi-win, and you see it there in stop action, the red light on, the nose of Larry Huff's Dodge up in the air as Bill Jenkins still sitting at rest on the starting line. The next matchup pits Stacy Shields, the driver of the Superfly Mustang from Indianapolis, Indiana, against Greenwood, Indiana's own Bob Glidden, the defending world champion. Stacy Shields concentrating on getting his tires hot, getting the car coupled up to the asphalt, concentrating again on that ever-important start. Let's watch close. And a red light for Stacy Shields as he leaves early. Bob Glidden against Bill Jenkins in the final of Pro Stock, and we'll be seeing that a little bit later on. Pro Comp Eliminators semifinal round. Dale Armstrong, the national champion. He drives the alcoholic. It's named that because it runs on alcohol, methanol, rather than nitromethane. He's matched up against the dragster of John Shoemaker. Ken Veeney against Brad Anderson in the other pairing for the semifinals. Pro Comp using dragsters, altereds. They're handicapped on the basis of weight, the type of fuel used, and the size of the motor. They leave the starting line together. It is heads-up racing from the starting line. Dragster versus funny car. Let's watch. And Dale Armstrong from Torrance, California, a tremendous run, the quickest of the day, 6.55 seconds, speed over 212 miles an hour for that alcohol-burning funny car as he defeats John Shoemaker. The other matchup, Ken Veeney in the far lane. In the near lane, Brad Anderson. Anderson getting a little bit out of shape, drifting near that guardrail, and Ken Veeney streaks through to a fine run as he'll match up in the final against Dale Armstrong. Here we move into competition eliminator, one of 8 eliminator categories for automobiles contested here at the NHRA World Finals. This is Anthony Terenzio from Stamford, Connecticut. And that's right, it's a Model T Roadster powered by a supercharged Chrysler. Here's Richard Rosen from New Orleans, Louisiana. Terenzio doing his burnout and breaking a motor as he comes out of the bleach box. Oil all over that right-hand lane. Richard Rosen getting the indication he'll have a single run. The crew telling Anthony Terenzio to shut it off as oil pours all over the starting line. And that does not bear good for the drivers that follow Anthony Terenzio. They're backing the car off the line as Richard Rosen leaves on his single that automatically puts him into the finals. Rosen saving the wear and tear on the parts and pieces as he coasts across the finish line at about 61 miles an hour. And Anthony Terenzio very unhappy with himself, his car, his parts. He gets out, a dejected Stamford, Connecticut driver doing an excellent job here at the World Finals, and a tremendous distance to travel to have such misfortune. The two drivers remaining in the semifinal round of competition eliminator waiting patiently as the cleanup crew gets to work, utilizing some of the most exotic cleanup devices you'll ever see, including this NHRA Thrush track dryer, used not only to dry up moisture off the track, but also to burn in rosin or blow away grease, sweep. Temperatures over 600 degrees coming out of the tailpipe of that pure jet motor as it gets into the asphalt. If you stopped the motor, it would actually burn a hole right through the asphalt, so you have to keep it moving. You can see the heat coming up as the oil dry and the rosin burning in to the surface to provide the safest racing conditions for the drivers that follow. And here they are in the far lane doing his burnout, Mark Prudhomme. If that name sounds familiar, you're right. He is a cousin of the famed Don the Snake Prudhomme. He is matched up against Greg Stanville. Both Econorails, Mark Prudhomme's using the bigger engine, as Greg Stanfield utilizing the small block Chevrolet. Here we see Mark Prudhomme, the car basically a rear engine design similar to the top fuel dragsters, maybe a little shorter in wheelbase, using one 4-barrel carburetor on that engine. Drag racing, NHRA style, with a class for almost any type of car that you can imagine, can compete in NHRA style drag racing, and we're seeing them all right here. This is competition eliminator, semifinal round, Mark Prudhomme against Greg Stanville. Competition eliminator, of course, is handicap style racing. The handicap allowing one car to have a physical head start over the other. Let's watch close as Greg Stanfield will get approximately 1/2 second head start over Mark Prudhomme. You can see the tree counting down one side, and that's Greg Stanfield's side, allowing him to leave the starting line before something going wrong in Greg Stanfield's car. Mark Prudhomme streaks on to an easy win, so it'll be 2 Econorails. 2 cars utilizing only the 4-barrel transmission, running on gasoline, and an automatic transmission in the finals. Handicap racing is best depicted, as you can see here in this stop-motion replay. You see in stock eliminator, the car on the left has already got the green light. He has left the starting line, while the car on the right has the Christmas tree counting down about halfway. He will have to wait until his light goes green and hope that he can catch the car on the left at the finish line. We'll watch again a replay of the action between Mark Prudhomme and Greg Stanfield in slow motion. You can see Greg Stanfield's lane counting down, and he will leave the starting line first. And then comes Marc Prudhomme. This allows different class cars to compete against each other, and if everything were equal, they would meet at the finish line in a close race, a race so close that you almost have to use the electronic judge to determine who is the winner. So it'll be Marc Prudhomme against Richard Rosen in the final of Competition Eliminator. We'll be back with more semifinal action from the 1975 World Finals in just a moment.
Gary Beck, number 2 qualifier with an outstanding 5:69, coming into this race with about a 148-point lead, and you're really battling hard to win that World Championship. How do you feel at the start of elimination?
Well, Dave, certainly we're pleased with our ETs, run 5:74 and a 5:69. Certainly Garlitz has a lot of potential to run very quick and fast, but we feel that we can run better than that 69. You know, drag racers deal in thousandths and tenths of a second, and we should be able to run a 65 with a little improvements with the car this time, which we could keep moving that national record down. Then at 65, we should be able to run 63, and you might even see a 5.5 this weekend. I mean, this Ontario is a tremendous track, and we have a lot of horsepower, so it's going to be a good old race.
Those seconds spent on the racetrack are backed up by an awful lot of work in the pits, and the cars that you've been seeing on today's telecast of the World Finals are just a few of the over 250 entries for the 1975 NHRA World Finals. The motor's taken apart down to the bare blocks, laying flat on your back, the oil dripping in your face, changing pistons, doing the work on the motors practically between every round it becomes necessary, particularly in the top fuel and funny car categories.
Don Garlitz established low elapsed time at a 5:63, the first man ever over 250 miles an hour. Don, how do you feel going into the World Finals eliminations?
Well, Dave, we all feel real good. The crew and I worked on the car last night. Everything is tip-top shape. We didn't hurt anything to speak of yesterday. We nibbled one little piston, which we expected. We put an awful big high speed in it to get that mile an hour. We won't be going for high mile an hour today. We're going to concentrate on winning the race, and I feel confident that I have as good a chance as anybody here.
Semi-final action in Top Fuel Eliminator. It'll be Gary Beck against Herman Peterson, 2 Greater Northwest area cars. It'll be Don Garlitz against Marvin Graham. Those are the matchups, and you can see the times of the previous round. Low ET, the 5:65 by Garlitz. Gary Beck doing his burnout, getting those tires hot, putting some rubber down on the asphalt. We're at the point at this time in the race, it is rubber-to-rubber contact there at the starting line. The matchup for Gary Beck, Herm Peterson suffered through a terrifying accident a couple of years ago, came back and making his best showing ever since that accident. He is a former Gator Nationals champion. Gary Beck, of course, 2-time national champion and the defending world champion. He must win here as Don Garlitz currently has the point lead going into the semifinal round. Concentration at the start. It's Gary Beck out first. And something going away in Gary Beck's car as Herm Peterson streaks onto the win, a 598 to a losing 622. Gary Beck losing the supercharger belt, the motor practically quitting running at that point. Herm Peterson moving on to take the win, ousting the defending world champion. And it is a dejected Gary Beck from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, that coasts to a stop in the shutdown area here at the 1975 World Finals. The man they call Big Daddy out of Tampa, Florida, matched up against former national champion Marvin Graham from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Graham, not a professional racer in the sense that he earns his complete living at it. He's a TV repairman in Oklahoma City. Don Garlitz, of course, the Big Daddy of the sport, has been driving Top Fuel dragsters and in drag racing for some 25 years. He has announced that if he wins this world championship and goes over 250 miles an hour, he will retire from drag racing. He has already gone 250. He holds the national record at that point, the first man ever to officially run 250 miles an hour in the quarter mile from a standing start with a piston piston engine driven car, Don Garlits. You see him on the far side. You're looking at the Christmas tree, the view the drivers get as they approach that starting line, concentrating on that tree, staging properly so they can leave the starting line properly. Marvin Graham up against Don Garlits. Garlits with the low elapsed time of the meet at a 5:63, backed up with a 5.65 second elapsed time. Let's watch them as they leave the line. And Don Garlits just blows Marvin Graham off the racetrack. 5.67 seconds to a respectable, but losing 6.04 for Marvin Graham. So it will be Don Garlits against Herm Peterson in the finals of the NHRA World Finals. In drag racing, there's all sorts of vehicles, exhibition cars such as this one. Richard Schroeder driving a beautiful Chevy Nova wheel stander, covering the entire quarter mile on his rear wheels. The pads putting out the sparks. This is an exhibition car. Crossing the finish line at a speed over 110 miles an hour, Richard Schroeder and his wheel-standing Chevy Nova. Semifinals of Funny Car Eliminator. The burnout getting those tires extremely hot, extremely sticky. That was Little John Lombardo on the near side. Denny Savage driving the Chi-Town Hustler, matched up against Little John. It's Don Prudhomme and Raymond Beadle in a rematch of the Nationals. We'll see that in just a moment. Right now, Little John Lombardo and Denny Savage approaching the starting line. And Denny Savage with an upset win over John Lombardo, 6.21 seconds to a losing 6:34. The rematch of the Nationals coming up next in semifinal action here at the NHRA World Finals. Raymond Beadle, the winner of the Nationals, and Funny Car Eliminator in the Blue Max, against none other than Don the Snake Prudhomme.
Don Prudhomme, you've already annexed the World Championship title, $20,000. You're coming in running as faster than any man in history in a funny car. Does this lessen your desire to win now that you've already annexed the World Champion title?
No, certainly not. That's just kind of a little frosting on the cake, actually. It just kind of adds to it, and it just pumps you up and run a little bit harder. And no, we're strictly out to win the race. Matter of fact, I would trade all that for a win.
Don Prudhomme winning 5 of 7 national events already this year. An incredible record, going up against Raymond Beadle, the man he lost to in the finals at the Nationals. Don Prudhomme already the quickest car here at the World Finals. Raymond Beadle, the second quickest. Let's see how they do. Leaving the line together, but look at Don Prudhomme. Tremendous time for Don the Snake Prudhomme, ladies and gentlemen, 5.98 seconds. 5.98 seconds for Don Prudhomme. That's the first 5-second time ever recorded by a funny car in the history of drag racing. His speed, 237 miles an hour. Raymond Beadle losing with a 6:34, shutting it off at 191, knowing there's no chance to catch the Snake. So the Snake goes into the finals against Denny Savage, setting for the first time in history the first funny car ever in the fives.
Congratulations to you. You backed up the 241. You've now got the record at that and the World Championship, the title here at this event. A great show.
Well, I got to say thank you very much, but I can't think of a finer operation NHRA to run at a fine facility like this, like Ontario Raceway. It's probably got to be the best racetrack in the whole entire world.
Congratulations to you down, Wally Park.
That's just beautiful. I think you already know how proud we are of you. Everything that you've done here today just wrapped it all up beautiful.
Well, thank you very much, Wally. Thank you.
Get your congratulations from your crew. Final eliminations from the World Finals in just a moment. A full season of racing coming to the line here at Ontario Motor Speedway as we start into the final eliminations for this 1975 World Finals of drag racing. We'll start with stock eliminator. A total of 43 races were contested around the United States and Canada during 1975. 8 national events, 35 divisional races. These racers in our sportsman category of stock, super stock, modified, competition, and pro comp, competing primarily on a divisional level. Here we see the finalists in stock eliminator. From Temple City, California, driving for Bob Lambeck, Tim Ekstrand. He's at the wheel of a 74 Duster. Jim Waldo from Richland, Washington says, no, the handicap is not correct. Let's try it again and check yourself and make sure you are correct, because it's all important to him that the times be accurate, the difference between the two classes. The Ford of Jim Waldo utilizing the 4-speed transmission, automatic transmission at the control of Tim Ekstrand. Here you see the handicap being displayed for the drivers. They'll now approach the starting line for the final, and the title World Champion 1975 on the line between these two drivers in stock eliminator. The handicap coming down. Tim Ekstrand will leave first. A good light. And here comes Jim Waldo. Can he catch him? And your stock eliminator world champ, Tim Ekstrand from Temple City, California, defeating Jim Waldo. The stock eliminator cars very similar to those you drive on the street every day. Certain allowable modifications, but basically stock cars just as they are delivered from the factory. And now here is Super Stock Eliminator. The Corvette of Bernie Agaman. This is the finals. From Bayonne, New Jersey comes Agaman. Paul Rossi with the 68 Plymouth Barracuda from Corona Del Mar. Concentration as both cars staging. And the tree begins its countdown. Bernie Agaman with a head start, trying to hold off that Hemi-powered Plymouth on the top end. He does by a car length. Bernie Agaman from Bayonne, New Jersey, your 1975 world champion here at Ontario. 10.29 seconds is elapsed time. His speed 130, 988 the time for Paul Rossi. This is modified eliminator as we work our way through the categories. Modified meaning just what it says. More modifications to those basic stock type cars. We've gone through stock eliminator, then super stock, now modified. The Chevy Corvette. Lee Shepard, the Rare and Morrison team from Arlington, Texas, against Bruce Sizemore and the Ford Pinto. The Pinto powered by the 6-cylinder engine, the quicker of the two cars, as the V8 of Lee Shepard, a very heavy car. He'll get the head start over the Pinto. Good starts in both lanes. And Bruce Sizemore just nipping Lee Shepard at the finish, 974 to a losing 10.41 seconds. Here now comes competition eliminator. And it seems both cars want to run the same lane. And it's Richard Rosen backing up. He's from New Orleans, Louisiana. He's backing up to go on the other lane. Here's Mark Prudhomme, the cousin of Don the Snake Prudhomme. He hails from Bakersfield, California. 2A Econorails. There'll be no handicap in this run, as the tree will count down side by side. Both cars of the same class. A Econorail, one of the less expensive categories to compete in championship drag racing. Both cars utilizing one 4-barrel carburetor and an automatic transmission, as they're now on the line in a heads-up run for competition eliminator. And it's Richard Rosen easily outdistancing Mark Prudhomme, 8.18 seconds. We'll be back with more finals in a moment. One of the coveted non-racing awards here at the 75 World Finals is the Best Appearing Professional Crew Award from English Leather, being presented by Francis Friedman and Jack Hart of the National Hot Rod Association. It goes to Hank Johnson from Marysville, Washington, driving the top fuel dragster out of Al's Auto Supply, matching uniforms, matching with the paint scheme on the race car. What a matchup in the finals of Pro Comp Eliminator. Dale Armstrong driving the alcoholic, two-time national champion. He is matched up against a former teammate, Ken Veeney. Veeney, formerly from California, now living in Wadsworth, Ohio. Armstrong from Torrance, California. Both cars, the Double B funny car class. That means they're running on alcohol, methanol, rather than the nitromethane used by the cars competing in Funny Car Eliminator. Elapsed times, Dale Armstrong's got the quickest thus far at a 6.55 seconds. The quickest for Ken Veeney, a tenth of a second slower at 6:65. It's anybody's race here in the finals. Dale Armstrong, two-time national champion, at the wheel of the alcoholic, matched up against this man, Ken Veeney from Wadsworth, Ohio. This, the finals of Pro Comp Eliminator. It'll be Armstrong in the far lane, Veeney in the near lane. The tree will count down with one amber light and then green. It's heads-up racing between the two Double B funny cars in the finals of Pro Comp Eliminator. Ken Veeney, knowing he's the slower of the two cars, took a chance on the Christmas tree and lost. The gamble didn't pay off, as Dale Armstrong is your world champion, 6.60 seconds. One of the 9 categories of competition at the World Finals, fuel motorcycle. T.C. Christensen of Kenosha, Wisconsin in the far lane. On the tower side, the grandfather, Joe Smith from West Covina, California. Christensen on a Norton Harley-Davidson powering the motorcycle of Joe Smith. And a tremendous launch by Christensen. .95 seconds, one of 2 motorcycles ever to run in the 7s. T.C. Christensen, Russ Collins previously set the record at a 7:86. Here's the finals in Pro Stock. It is Bill Grumpy Jenkins from Malvern, Pennsylvania, at the wheel of the Chevy Monza. His competition, the defending world champion. You can tell by the big number 1. That's the car of Bob Glidden from Greenwood, Indiana. Ford versus Chevrolet, they leave the line together. Neck and neck, they come to the finish line. And it's Bob Glidden by a car length, defending his world championship. Identical elapsed times except for 3/1000ths of a second. Bob Glidden is 3/1000ths of a second quicker at 8.851. Bill Jenkins, 8.854. Glidden a mile an hour faster, 154 for Bob Glidden. Here now, the finals of Funny Car Eliminator. If you've ever heard of an underdog, you're looking at it here. This is the Chi-Town Hustler. Denny Savage doing a great job putting the Hustler into the finals against this man, Don the Snake Prudhomme, the first man ever to run over 240 miles an hour in a funny car. The first man ever in the 5s with a funny car. Prudhomme matched up against the Chi-Town Hustler. One of the rare national event appearances by the Chi-Town Hustler. While Don Prudhomme has competed in all of them this year, has won 5 out of 7 national events contested thus far in 1975. He has already won the World Finals title based on total points earned, and he would love to annex this event title here at the 1975 World Finals. Farconis, Coyle, and Minnick. Denny Savage, the driver of the Chi-Town Hustler, using a Dodge body. The Chevy body in the funny car of Don the Snake Prudhomme as they come towards the starting line. The 2 finalists in Funny Car Eliminator. And the tires smoking on the Chi-Town Hustler, giving the win as Don Prudhomme puts it through an outstanding 6.15 seconds at over 240 miles an hour for Don the Snake Prudhomme. We'll be back with the Top Fuel Finals in just a moment. Top Fuel Eliminator, the only race remaining at this 1975 NHRA World Finals here at Ontario Motor Speedway. and this man has a lot riding on it. He has already publicly announced that he will retire at the end of the 1975 season if he does two things. If he sets the record at 250 miles an hour, he has already done that, and if he wins the World Championship. He is one race away from doing that. Don Garlits of Tampa, Florida, to meet up against Herm Peterson in the final of Top Fuel Eliminator. As the sun slowly sinking into the Pacific here in Ontario, California, Herm Peterson coming towards the starting line. Peterson from Paulsbo, Washington, the comeback story of drag racing. Severely burned in a fire a couple of years ago, Herm Peterson jumped right back in the cockpit. About 6 months later, his comment, well, if I were a house painter and I fell off a ladder and broke my leg, I'd go back to painting houses. I'm a race driver. This is the finals for Top Fuel Eliminator. Don Garlits, the first man ever to run 250 miles an hour, put it together for a national record here. He also is the quickest man ever at 5.63 seconds. His matchup here against Herm Peterson in the final could lead to a total of some $38,000 in winnings for Don Garlits, all of it riding on this run. If he wins the World Championship, that's $20,000 in bonus money. If he wins the event title, that is some $18,000 in cash and contingency, all to one man, Don Garlits of Tampa, Florida. A career spanning 25 years, from the very starts of the streets and abandoned airports back in the mid-50s to today's highly sophisticated and ultra-fine racing plants like Ontario Motor Speedway. Don Garlits, at the end of a long, long season, up against Herm Peterson. The nod of the head, they say they're ready. They'll be concentrating on this device, the Christmas tree. One amber light, then green, and the race is on. The final race of this 1975 World Finals at Ontario Motor Speedway. There is no question about it. The class of the field at this event, 5.74 seconds, 247.93 miles an hour. Big Daddy Don Garlits, your world champion for 1975. Herm Peterson of Paulsbo, Washington, a valiant 6.11, but nowhere close, as you saw in the finish. We'd like to take you back through what the day has been. In the first round, Don Garlits defeated Bob Struckton. Here we see the quarterfinal replay of the action as Dale Funk, pictured here, matched up against Don Garlits. Garlits previously had gone 5.63 seconds in qualifying, the quickest time ever. You must back that up under NHRA's rules within 1% to have it stand as a national record. Don Garlits meeting Dale Funk here in the quarterfinal round. Garlits never headed 5.65 seconds, the second quickest time in the history. That backs up his 5.63. The losing time was a 5.89 seconds. A highly respectable, almost an incredible run for Dale Funk, losing to Garlits 5.65. Here now the replay of the semifinal action as Don Garlits matched up against Marvin Graham. Marvin Graham, the TV repairman from Oklahoma City, Spring Nationals champ, former national champion. In the semifinals, he had the misfortune of meeting Don Garlits from Tampa, Florida. Again, never headed Don Garlits, 5.67 seconds, 249 miles an hour, the third quickest run in drag racing history, all to the credit of Don Garlits. So that set up the finals when it was Don Garlits against Herm Peterson. Peterson from Paulsbo, Washington, matched up against the long black car from Tampa, Florida. Big Daddy himself, Don Garlits, in what will be his final run in Nationals competition. As he announced previously to this race, he would retire if he set the record at 250, and he won the World Championship. This is the replay of the big one, when Don Garlits annexed his first ever NHRA World Champion title and walked away with some $38,000. Don Garlits, he makes it As you saw, a lot of oil coming out the back of the long black car, and that oil indicating an exploded motor. In fact, a rod poked a hole right through the side of the cylinder block. But Don Garlits was quite a distance ahead of Herm Peterson on the final run. That time again in the final, 5.74 seconds, a speed of 247 miles an hour plus. So Don Garlits putting together an incredible string of elapsed times and top speeds, over 250 miles an hour in qualifying, elapsed times, the low ever at a 5.63 seconds. Don Garlits, your world champion for 1975. Absolutely incredible performance by the man synonymous with Top Fuel drag racing.
Well, Don, you got a little oil, but you won the race. You got the record at 250. You got the record at 563. Tremendous show. Plus the world championship.
Yeah, all in one day, yeah?
Not too bad, is it?
No, it's all right. It was a very exciting day.
Any thoughts right now going through your mind?
What would you like me to say?
I don't know. Say what you think.
Well, I think that this is going to be it for me. I think I'm going to hang it up. I've got about 4 little match races left, and I'm going to finish those, and I think you won't be seeing me anymore.
Don, I got to tell you, I can't think of any man any greater in drag racing history. Here comes Herm Peterson, the guy you beat in the final. Herman?
It's no disgrace to lose to the best guy there is in drag racing, I'm telling you. Right there. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Don, we've been trying to talk you into retiring for about 5 years, and I know you wanted this title, and I couldn't tell you how proud we are that you got it.
Well, thank
earned
you,
it
Walter.
the hard
Thank
way.
you.
We're just happy with you. I know we're going to be seeing a lot of you because you can't stay away, even if you're not driving.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
The 1975 NHRA World Finals has been brought to you by English Leather. Be an English Leather champion. This is ITN, the Independent Television Network.